BYD's executive vice president, Stella Lee, also disclosed that the car company plans to shut down any plans for expansion in the United States.
We're not planning to come to U.S.
No plans to come to the U.S.?
No.
Why not?
It's too complicated. It's an interesting market, but it's very complicated if you're talking about EV. I think the U.S. market is a little bit slowed down on electrification and a lot of confusing, also very complicated. So we think, no, let's hold. We don't have plan to come to U.S.
The politics are complicated.
Everything is complicated. Politics complicated, charging infrastructure complicated, and then it's confused for consumer, and then they don't know which to choose. So then I think.
What do you mean when you say it's confusing for the consumer?
Here in U.S. is you have too many confusing noise, speech from different politics. Then this can bring a lot of confusion to consumer and also to auto manufacturer. They're not eager to invest.
You don't think they're eager to invest?
No, because I read the news, always see, this company hold their investment on EV, that company hold their investment on the battery manufacturing. A lot of topic, we don't know what's happening. But in China, the message is strong. If you are not investing for electric car, you are out. You will die. You have no future.
So let me challenge you on that bit, because I think the White House would argue, yes, China has had a lot of success on EVs. We are trying to accelerate this adoption to going electric. You've got the Inflation Reduction Act that does put forward incentives. It does put forward subsidies as well. When you think about where China is right now, 35% roughly penetration, right, for EVs versus the US, which is at 7%. Is the Inflation Reduction Act enough to get it to that? Or do you see fundamental differences in the approach between the US and Chinese market in the government push?
It's fundamentally different. In China, the government will push that like a policy, also will help for the policy. So as long as you produce in China, not produce in China, as long as you produce electric car, then consumer will get a benefit. It's like a give guideline. Then you boost a lot of company to compete. But the U.S. policy with the IRA, actually, this is have a lot of restriction with the Chinese supplier here, and then this bring a lot of complexity to the current EV manufacturer. As you may know, for the battery technology, for a lot of technology, China supply chain is a key player. If you trace down all from the cell to the raw materials, China is 70% of the supply chain. But now for IRA, a little bit too complicated for any OEM to achieve that target.
So you're saying it's not an all-in approach?
It's not all in. It's not all in. They should be all in, and then they should be open. Remember why US is competitive strong, because we are open market. We welcome everybody to come here to have free competition, and there is a capital market, right? But now it's become more protect market.
Let me ask you this, because you say that you have no interest in coming to the U.S., but as you know, given your growing presence in Mexico, there's a lot of American car companies that are taking note saying, BYD, Chinese car makers, are knocking at the door into U.S. entry. And I want to read you a few things that we've heard from some leaders in the EV space. Elon Musk recently saying that Chinese automakers will pretty much demolish most other car companies without trade barriers. Those are his words. You heard the Stellantis CEO saying the Chinese offensive is the biggest risk that companies like Tesla and Stellantis face. And then you had Jim Farley from Ford recently saying if you can't compete fair and square with the Chinese around the world, then 20 to 30% of your revenue is going to be at risk because of the cost advantage. Do you agree with that assumption here, that if those trade barriers aren't in place, the Chinese can compete fair and square and actually win this market?
So I kind of have a different opinion. First, for example, BYD invest manufacturing in Mexico is mainly focused on Mexico market. So that's the reason we're not even consider any Lawson state. A lot of U.S. brand, all their manufacturing are in the north because it's easy to cross border. But for BYD, we are more looking for the place within 200 kilometers, radius from the Mexico City. So we are more target local market. So that's BYD strategy. We are not really planning to come to U.S. So then second, I think this is a similar story if you're thinking about the auto history, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when Japanese came to US, it's the same. Japanese are going to kill us, But in the end, still, we have a local brand. If they participate in competition, they will find a way out. They will be winner. Then any foreigner come from Japan, from Korean, they only share a portion of the business. So that's, I think, for electric car, they are a little bit overreact on a little bit too scared about a kind of Chinese competition.
Tesla's profit margin is starting to dwindle and will likely continue on this part for the next few months. Although many Tesla bulls remain optimistic about the turn of events, the bitter truth is that Tesla may not be so profitable this year, and that's what most investors are not happy about.
CEO of BYD America, Stella Li, to talk about the company's evolution and the key markets the firm is aiming to compete in outside of China.
I think every country besides the US we saw the trend is almost duplicate the story of China in the past 10 years. For example, in Brazil, BYD into Brazil 1.5 years ago. But then in the beginning of last year, the EV penetration in Brazil is less than 1%, it's 0.8%. But by the December of last year, the EV penetration is 5.7%. BYD is a big a contributor there also. We went there, then we start become maybe the top 10, the number 10s, largest brand in Brazil with only electric car and the PHEV. So then this kind of story is happening in Thailand and also Israel and also other countries. So we see this kind of story, this kind of similar pattern is for the EV adoption, it start with slow but not jump, and then we're fast growing in every other countries.
So you're saying you think BYD can compete in all those markets you just mentioned?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because the Chinese market is the most competitive market. If you are the winner in the most competitive market, why not? You cannot win in other market. It's just about the timing issue.